cocktail?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? Pineapple chili, porn star martini, or strawberries and cream?
I like the sounds of the strawberries and cream. Is that a milk punch?
Milk punch, yeah, and it's lower ABV. It's early in the morning.
Nice.
So it won't get too
It's not that
loaded.
early, but work later.
Do you want to hook us up with strawberries and cream, please, bro? And we'll fucking get into it. So, Jude, welcome.
Connor, thank you.
So, I guess we'll start with a little bit of an introduction from yourself and tell us about who you are, what you do, where we are.
Yeah, we're at the Bistro. Taupo, little restaurant, family run. We've been here for 12 years tomorrow.
Nice.
What's the date today? Yeah,
The
12.
17th, is it?
So yeah, it was 12 years yesterday.
12 years.
That we've been open. Yeah, so this is chef by trade, more front of house these days.
Yeah.
But this is the only career I've had for 30 years now.
30 years.
And you know what? I'm still driven by it. I'm still excited by it. I still walk around the restaurant some nights when everyone's gone and just kind of recheck and have a look around and have those little warm fuzzy moments, which is so I love, eh? And one of the things that really gets me about it is this industry is an industry of hard work, of commitment. It's hard to make a living out of it. And so because of that, it really requires passion to be successful.
Yeah.
Because there's just other ways, there's easier ways to earn an income. And if you don't have passion and drive in just your skill set or your joy to be serving or be creating or whatever it is in the hospitality industry that really drives you, if you don't have that, it's actually too hard to bother doing it. Because it just requires so much of you.
Yeah, yeah.
And those moments when I'm walking around having a little a self-gratification moment at all that I've achieved, the thing that actually really kind of sets the foundation on the joy around that is just putting it into perspective. So the reality is that this is literally just a room with some chairs and tables.
Yep.
It's got a kitchen out the back there, and people walk in the front door every night unsolicited.
Yeah. Cheers, bro.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Nice block.
Yeah. Sponsored by the Bar Society.
The strawberry's good. It's like that. When I was in Japan, there was these really wacky fizzy drinks that you could get.
Okay.
And they were punch style. This fragrance, this nose really reminds me of the strawberry one that was just really delicious, and you can't get them anywhere else. I've never seen them anywhere else. But anyway, back to this this fact that people are walking in the front door out of their choice.
Yeah.
And whether it's based on recommendations or reputation, or they're walking by and they see that it's a restaurant, they're just coming in to experience what we have to offer. And it's quite humbling, and that's when I'm walking around having these moments of feeling really proud and grateful. That's what puts it into perspective. Is you can say the achievement is that you get awards and you get recognition and peer recognition and pats on the back, and sure, that's fine. You can look at it from that way, but to me the genuine reward is that people are choosing to walk in here and sit down, relax. They're partying with their money. Mm-hmm. We like to think that the large portion of them are leaving satisfied, feeling like they have had value and experienced what my team and my family have to offer. But that's the thing is these guests are coming in and just leaving it to us to look after them and to feed them and sometimes inspire them. And that's the thing, it's like literally just a room full of chairs and tables.
Yeah.
And people are coming in to have what we have to offer.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Are there any guests that sort of give you more of a sense of...
Oh, that's delicious.
You like it?
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Love it. what guest? Every guest means a lot to the restaurant. Just to have people come in and part with their money, like you say. But what do you get the most joy out of? Having the return customers that have come back over the course of 12 years, or having people that it's their first time and they get blown away by something?
There's satisfaction in both, but the thing that really brings me the most joy with customer satisfaction is the guests that really appreciate what we're doing, and everyone appreciates having nice food. You would hope that everyone leaves appreciating what we have to offer, but the guests that really that we capture their imagination, that have genuine engagement, the ones that say maybe, and this happens a lot with European and internationals, people that have dined all over the world, and you get compared all the time, but that's not really the top of my priority list, is to have people compare us to their other dining experiences. But it's the ones that have had enough dining experiences, or maybe in the industry, where they have a bit more knowledge on what we're doing and how we do it, and out of that knowledge, and I say to all my team as I'm training people, with knowledge comes confidence. And with diners, with knowledge comes appreciation. And so when they're experiencing something, whether it's the ambience, whether it's the wine glasses, whether it's the list, drinks, cocktails, whether it's the menu or an individual dish, when they start to engage and tell me what it is that they like about it, from those short conversations, you get a real understanding of either their passion for food and dining and hospitality, or their knowledge of. And it's those conversations are the ones that give me the most joy and satisfaction. Because they're not just saying that they love it because it tastes nice. They're saying that they love it because they've got like a bank of knowledge of why they like it. And that brings me more satisfaction.
Have there been any dishes that you've had on the menu right from the start that have just never left?
The calamari is now, the wild rabbit chicken liver terrine, the pork belly, the brulee. So these are ones that, the signature dish thing is something that you see around the place, and it's common. For me, it was never, my personality says that I'm not going to go and stick something out there and say this is my signature, because that's just not how I operate. For me, and I do have signature dishes, but they're self-created, they're self-proclaimed. The dish, it creates its own status, and so out of selling well and being appreciated and being enjoyed, that dish gets to stay on the menu, and once it's been on the menu for long enough, it becomes a signature dish. So we have regulars that don't even look at the menu; they'll just come in and say, "Can I have the calamari, followed by the pork belly, followed by the brulee." So that when we first opened, for the first, maybe for the first year at least, I could have kind of, because of my background and my experience in the industry, at that point I'd been in the industry for 20 odd years, or nearly 20 years, and so I worked at various places at different levels, more fine dining than anything.
What was the first fine dining job?
The first fine dining job was probably genuine fine dining, would have been Hooker Lodge. And then I was a commis chef there. I started at Hooker Lodge in, when was it? No, you got 1998. And I started washing dishes at Skotau, Whakapapa ski field at the base, Whakapapa village, in 1995. So I've been in the industry for about 3 years at that point. And the mountain had erupted a couple of times, and so I decided to move to Taupo. We were based in the National Park. And through a friend of mine, I got an interview at Hooker Lodge. And so that was probably really where it kicked on what the possibilities were. And so for the opening of this place, there was the opportunity to do whatever it is, whatever product, to deliver whatever product I thought was going to work in a little town like this. And so it could have been fine dining, it could have been a brasserie, it could have been a cafe. could have been a hot dog stand. You know, it's I had the opportunity to really open whatever I wanted to. And so for that first year, at least for the first 6 months, I was changing the menu literally every week and just trialing dishes and seeing what was going to sit in this market. So it's pretty diverse in Taupo. So, you know, we've got the infrastructure of a small town. So we don't have big office blocks, but we have small corporate businesses. We've got tradies, like any small town. You know, from your homeschooled mums to your secretaries to your tradies, you know, to your farmers, and so we've kind of got everything around this area.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do a product that would appeal to everybody at a quality level that was accepted by those who like fine dining, at a price point that would be accepted by general Kiwi, and at a level of understanding, so I use the word not wanked up too much. So, so you can look at the plate, you can recognise every ingredient on the plate. You can probably buy most of the ingredients on the plate at the supermarket or at the butcher at your veggie store. So you have an instant relationship to the food because you recognise what it is, but you know that you can't do that at home. So it's worth coming here for it. So over that time, through the trialling of those dishes, the calamari started out as an octopus dish, and it was lovely. It was so nice. And I only kept it on for about the first 3 or 4 weeks because it just didn't sell, and your typical local Kiwi just wasn't interested in having octopus. Yeah. And everyone was crying out for calamari because everyone loves calamari, and
everyone has squid rings at the fish and chip shop and things like that.
Okay, I kind of loathed to do it. I avoided it, but because everyone does it. But I thought, okay, I'll do calamari, but I'm not going to fry it. Yeah. And so I just literally experimented with cooking calamari sous vide and doing on that same dish as the octopus, pulling the octopus off. Champagne veloute, handmade lemon gnocchi. It's never changed, that dish. Sauce gremolata, which is an Italian condiment of garlic, parsley, and lemon zest, olive oil. We use that as a dressing. Crispy capers, celery leaves. Yeah. And literally just replace the octopus with calamari, cooked sous vide, different from how you would normally see it. Really tender, really soft. 65 degrees for 6 minutes. That's all it gets. And it was just an instant hit. Yeah. And so it stayed on. And through doing this with all of the dishes, the ones that became instant hits, some of them stayed on, but it gave me a picture of the style of food that I was going to be. And so they ended up being the Bistro. And so I called it Bistro from the beginning, the Bistro, and kind of maybe a little bit of arrogance in that, calling it the Bistro, because it was kind of my thinking was, there's bistros, but this is the Bistro. Yeah, I was young.
It's the only one worthy of being called the Bistro.
Exactly. This is the Bistro. And I can't change it now.
Yeah, it's a staple in town now.
I wish I just called it Jude's Food or something.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, even simple but nice.
It was the original name. The original name was simply Bistro.
Okay. Yeah.
But then there was another couple of companies in town. There was Simply Tiling, and there was simply a couple of things. And so I kind of just went away from that. Yeah. And I kind of have this thing around simplicity. And so if I opened a bar, I'd call it the bar. Yeah. Maybe I'm just a simple man and I use simple words.
At least it's straight to the point. Yeah. There's no confusion about it.
But the thing is, the problem with having it called the Bistro is that there's other restaurants that kind of get shortened to be called the Bistro, even though that's not their actual name. Yeah. But they'll just call it the Bistro. Maybe if it's a hotel or something. Not naming any in particular. And so reception will say, mate, do you want to make a reservation at the Bistro? So the guests will go, I'll do that. They'll jump online, they'll go to the Bistro, make a reservation with us. Little do they know that we're 10 minutes drive away, and they don't show up. And so I'm calling them, oh no, we're sitting here, we've just been served. No, you actually haven't.
Wrong restaurant. Yeah, because there's quite a few in town.
There's four restaurants in town with Bistro in their name. Yeah. So maybe an error in naming it. But we've survived. We've survived 12 years with the name.
Yeah, and I guess once people come here, they just recognise where it is in town, because it's kind of a bit of a standalone.
It is, and so from the beginning, it's had to be a destination.
Yeah.
We're on the edge of the CBD, but we're not in the food precinct. This street, Tamamutu Street, is becoming busier now, especially during the day. So there's awareness now that we're here, and so during the day I kind of have it appear to be open, just so that it's easy to recognise.
Yeah.
And at night we still get walk-ins. Yeah. Because these days walk-ins are, simple fact is walk-ins are drive-ins. Yeah. They're not just walking around town. They're driving around and they'll see us. But generally a walk-in is not random. It's someone that's discovered us but just hasn't made a reservation. Yeah. Yeah. And so they'll drive here, and we're probably maybe a 5-minute walk to the main eating streets. Mm-hmm. So it's not that far. No. But it's still kind of a standalone restaurant, and for that being a destination, it's actually kind of worked in our favour, really. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a prime spot. Now, I was thinking about when you mentioned you wanted to do food that was going to appeal to all different types of people. Obviously, like flavour and, as you say, the simplicity of it and the fact that you can buy things at the supermarket and, attempt to recreate it at home are important. How much of an importance does portion size come into that? Because you can go to some fine dining stuff and you're eating something the size of a 50-cent coin. Yeah. And you've got 18 courses of that lined up, or somewhere where you're paying, $50 for a piece of steak and you only get the steak. Yeah. And then you still got to buy the mac and cheese and everything like that to go with it.
Well, to me, there's a couple of words that come into my approach to business, and honesty and integrity. And honesty and integrity is with diners, you're actually forming a relationship. Mm-hmm. And you'd like it to be a standing relationship. So then trust and value comes into that. So one of the things that we get for, especially for diners that maybe dining out at a place like the Bistro it's an event for them, it's an occasion for them. And there's plenty of good restaurants in town. Mm-hmm. We're pretty blessed. In a small town like Taupo, we've got a good handful of really nice restaurants, and not just in the finer dining kind of genre of restaurant, but we've got nice ethnic restaurants, we've got nice takeaways, you can get good fish at a fish and chip shop. So there's lots of good choice.
Even catch your own fish on the lake.
Exactly, yeah, and bring it in, we'll cook it. Yep. Give us a warning. But the trust thing is a big deal for me. The trust thing says to me that if a diner is planning on going out for dinner maybe 3 or 4 times a year, once a quarter, and sometimes are saving up for that, sometimes are waiting for the occasion, the birthday, they've got plenty of places to choose from. And the trust word comes in for us is if they're only going to do that a limited times per year, then what they don't want to do is reserve their 3 dining experiences for the year and risk having a shit dining experience. Yeah. And it does happen. It happens at nice places. And we've had, surely over the years, we've had people that have come here and left feeling like they had a poor dining experience for various reasons. And we get feedback on that, and it's something that we always work on. But the trust says that 9 times out of 10, they know that if they're going to go out for dinner a couple of times a year, and they choose us as one of those, they are going to get a good dining experience, and they're going to feel like they've received value, and they walk out the door not feeling like they've got mugged as the door got shut behind them. Yeah. It's a big deal for me. So that trust is a big deal. And then value. Value to me says that when you order a beef dish, that beef dish comes with condiments that are appreciated by the beef, that create. I've got the 3 T's: taste, texture, and temperature. Mm-hmm. And with those 3 T's, it's kind of the criteria around the dishes that we create.
There's always bloody one.
Security's important.
Yeah. Sorry guys, we'll just pause while the car alarm's going off. Yeah.
No.
There we go. We're back in action. The car alarms are off.
So that value is built around say for example, like I said, the beef dish with the 3 T's. That dish is going to get condiments that are appropriate to it, flavour marriages that work with the beef,
Yep.
and a volume that you can feel satisfied. So we often, and we do have side dishes if someone would like a side dish, and we often have guests that'll ask, do I need a side dish? And I say each dish is complete in the way that it's presented, but the menu's designed so that you'll be comfortable to have 3 courses.
Yep.
So if you're just coming in and you just want a main course, then sure, get a side dish. It might just top up your portion size. Get a dessert, but if you want a 3-course meal, then feel comfortable that you can order an entree, a main, and a dessert, and you will not need to order sides because each dish is complete. And so that's the value. And having this for, from the very beginning, something that was really important to me. This is what's created for us 12-year relationships with guests. Which even go back further than that. I was at another restaurant in town before opening this place, and there were the regulars that were there that are now regulars here. Yeah. And so some of those relationships go even further back. But this honesty and integrity, we need to make a living out of the business, but we're also offering a service. We're offering a dining experience, and when people come in and dine here, I want them to leave feeling like that was amazing, and I can't wait to come back.
Yeah, totally. So when thinking with a chef's mind, you probably go and experience other restaurants when you can and things like that, different bars and restaurants. Do you have a sense of when you see restaurants only making small mains to upsell other dishes, that it's potentially like a little bit greedy, or they're trying to scam the customer in some sort of way, or it's just a totally different style and that's not what you subscribe to?
I think more so a different style.
Yeah.
Something that I guess this is, once again, this whole knowledge brings confidence. The New Zealand diner, through TV and cooking shows, reality shows, YouTube channels, there's so much information out there now. So your typical diner, they just come in with not always realistic expectations, but with much more knowledge on the industry than, actually I'll take that back, not the industry, on food. And so the game has been lifted everywhere in New Zealand now. Restaurants are delivering at a level which is comparable to international dining experiences. The food, we've always had the produce, but now we've got a whole industry that has a skill to really showcase that produce.
Yeah. I think MasterChef and My Kitchen Rules and things like that have also made good food more understanding for the general customer that wants to sit down on a Tuesday night and they're watching TV.
Yeah. The thing that those shows don't cover, and that's important, is an appreciation for how much it actually costs for us to deliver that.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's where this value comes in, but that's where back to the portion sizes comes in. So, each restaurant has to be based on its own situation. We pay different rent.
Yep.
In Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin, Hamilton, Tauranga, some of our larger centres, they're all going to have much higher rent. See what's on the news at the moment, where the councils are looking at increasing or charging rent for the space in front of a restaurant if they've got tables and chairs set up out there. And so that's happened in Tauranga, I believe. And so those restaurant owners are saying, hey, hang on a minute, it's already costing us deep into our margin just to keep up, just to keep the doors open, and for us to go and be charged to use the space out front, which we're trying to use to increase our volume. It's a cost that we cannot absorb.
Totally. And rent is always going to go up.
That's right.
And the cost of food, if you keep putting it up the same rate at rent, no one's going to come back.
Exactly. But generally speaking, the supply chains for all of those main centres are the same supply chains as the smaller towns. And so we can generally get our ingredients at a similar price. Generally speaking, our insurance, depending on the city, is going to be similar. The main difference is generally going to be the rent, utilities possibly, and so with each that's a case by case, and so each business has to charge their margins. There are basic rules around what's normal for margins, but they're kind of blowing out. What used to be a 30% wage cost is now a 40% wage cost. What used to be a 22% food cost in the high season and maybe a 35% food cost in the low season is now you're just happy to keep 30%, if you can. And so the margins has been stripped. So if in an individual restaurant situation, say it's a fine dining restaurant, it's perceived smaller portions, you need to get a side. For the style of food that restaurant's doing, they might require twice as many chefs as the style of food that I do.
Yeah.
And so their wage bill is going to be much, much higher. So just by the model, they need to charge, and there's a cap on how much they can charge. So they need to charge the highest of the cap, but then they also need to make appropriate portions so that they can keep their margins in check. Otherwise, they may as well close the door.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's actually the reality. And this is where I say about the education of the general public. They know about food, but there's not always a genuine appreciation for what it actually costs us to do this. And I don't know of any restaurant owners that are actually out there to rip off their customers.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's not what we're here for.
Yeah. More of the nightclub world that tries to do that because it's a bit of a cash grab and all we're moving is cruisers.
That's right. For us, for most of this style of restaurant, we're in it because we love it. We're in it because we're passionate about it, and we don't feel good about ripping our prices up. I have to toss and turn with that sounds bad. Toss and turn with my wife. My wife is amazing. She does the books. She does the finances. She pays the wages, and she's the one when I'm saying, "Honey, is this account being paid?" She's like, yeah, I'm on it. But she needs money in the bank to be able to pay that. And so she's the one that, as we go into a menu change and I'm forgetting that I need to incrementally move it up, she's like, honey, we need to look at doing a little tweak again, a little price tweak again. And that hits me in the heart because I'm just like, man, I can only go so far. There's only so far that is going to be acceptable.
Yeah.
In a small town like this. And I feel like right now we're kind of at a peak. I don't want to go into the $50 range for main courses. I don't want to go into the $30 range for entrees. And that's, if I was setting proper margins, I would be.
Yeah.
Simple fact. If I was able to charge a price that would keep the business in the ultimate safety and keep my boat petrol tank full. First world problem.
Yeah. You got to have something to do on your day off.
Yeah, but there are many industries that have no problem with reaming the public, and the hospitality industry is generally not one of those industries.
Yeah,
because we're a luxury. Even we're a trade. Our training is done by trade, apprenticeships, but we're the trade that is just not able to be charging at the hourly rates that the other trades can. We just simply can't do that because the other trades are necessities.
Yes. And
our trade is a luxury.
Yeah.
When the economic situation has a downturn, we are the first thing to come off people's budgets.
Yeah.
On the upside though, when the economic situation changes and people have got a bit of extra cash, then we're the first thing to come back onto the budget. So it pushes and pulls.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, we do not charge what we should, and I use that word tentatively, what we should in order to create our best margins.
Yeah.
We just can't do that anymore. Costs are too high.
Yeah. And so what's the main contributor to cost? Is it your fixed overheads like rent and insurance and things like that, or is it a lot of food and inflation in that sort of area?
It's actually, we've been hit from every direction now.
Yeah.
So inflationary, yes. Inflationary, well, that covers everything.
Yeah.
So the cost of fuel for our deliveries.
Yes.
We get quarterly increases from all of our major suppliers now.
Yeah.
We get that email every quarter.
Yeah.
By the way, price is about to go up. Rents now for my first, and my landlords are great, and our rent is reasonable. But for the first 6 years versus the next 6 years, it's our landlords have had to make increases, greater increases than what they used to have to, because their rates have gone up, their utility costs have gone up. They've got to pay for extra water, and their maintenance costs have gone up. Everything's gone up. The real indicator is you just have a look in the supermarket, and every time minimum wage has gone up, as it has ridiculously over the last 5 years.
Everything goes up
you go
in
to
the
the supermarket
supermarket.
the next day and you see that everything's got $2 added to it.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
We can go down that road, but let's just say that all of our costs are higher.
Yeah.
It's not just the wages. Wages are definitely much higher.
Yeah.
It's not just our fixed overheads. Insurance has doubled.
Yeah.
In the 12 years that I've been over.
Yeah. And so
actually doubled.
Chefing is definitely, would you say, more of a labour of love now than a business model to keep buying boats?
Yeah, you know what? I recently spoke to a bunch of youth. It was the hospitality classes at a couple of high schools. They had this friendly little cook-off kind of magic box competition, and there's a few keynote speakers.
Yep.
I'm a local restaurant owner, so I spoke to the kids, and I was pretty brutally honest about this industry, but I really spoke to the passion and the joy that you get out of it, the opportunity to travel. It's one of those industries that is a labour of love, but then I also spoke to the reality that it's actually really hard work, and if your dream is to chase swimming pools and fast cars, then maybe choose something else.
Yeah.
But in saying that, this industry does have that the high rollers.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, that the high income hospitality business is a high volume, lower quality. Let's not say low quality, because that's not true.
Yeah, just more the casual style venue.
Yeah.
Bums on seats.
Yep. And the lower quality is not to say that it's poor quality. You can get a great cheap and cheerful meal, great ambience, great locations. It's just that food requires less labour. Yes. And labour is the major contributor to our costs. Yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah. Through the low season we've just had now, I've had weeks that all we can do is pay the wages. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Just say.
That 60-hour work week.
Yeah.
Glad I love this job.
Exactly. But then in saying that, my team is my number one priority. Yep. Yep. The suppliers, they have to be number two priority. And we're lucky, we've been around a long time, and we've really been behind on our accounts. And when we do, we've got suppliers that I've had relationships with, some of them multiple decades. And they know that we're good. Yep. We're not going anywhere, and it will come. Yep. That doesn't make it fun. But to ask your team, your staff, to wait a week, or maybe wait 2 weeks, it's just a non-negotiable. Yeah. Not going to happen. I'll pay them before I pay myself.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. And that's, they deserve it. And one thing I've always...
Absolutely they do.
Over the years that I've known you is that... you do see some chefs that they always want to be in the kitchen, and they always want everyone to know that they're the one cooking the food, and that's why it's their name that's on the billboard and everything like that. But I've always seen you in the kitchen whenever a kitchen staff is out sick or something major's happened in their life and you need to cover a shift, you're in there. But then you've also allowed a hell of a lot of apprentices and young chefs come through and learn a whole bunch, and you're also more than happy to be out on the floor waiting tables or in the bar making drinks and just doing the host type duties and things like this. I've been in and I've seen you doing the laundry
Yeah.
And like washing the bathrooms early in the morning, scrubbing the toilets, everything like that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's quite cool that there is so much appreciation for the staff that you have here.
Yeah.
And everyone that's going to be here, you want them to be just as passionate as you are.
Yeah.
And you give them the opportunity to shine, whether they're in the kitchen,
Absolutely.
on the floor, or in the bar.
Yeah. And you know what? The kitchen is always going to be my safe place, always going to be my happy place. I love being in the mornings, doing the bread. On a busy night when we're getting pumped, I would be in the kitchen 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
But the situation we're in now is I need to be out the front.
Yeah.
Partly I need to be out the front, mainly because it's difficult to find really good quality front of house managers these days.
Especially in a smaller town as well.
Yeah, definitely. Easy to find kitchen staff.
Yeah.
Kitchen staff there in New Zealand, it seems that it's more of a pathway to a career. Through Europe, US, front of house is a genuine career. In New Zealand, it's a career for many in the industry, but not for those that are not in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a after school job, it's a university on holiday job, it's a saving money to go on my OE job. No, it's not considered a career. And so for that reason, I do the front of house. But that would not be possible if I didn't have a team that could execute my food. And so I design all the menus. Right now, my Sue, Jesse's got a dessert on, and he presented it to me, and I was super stoked because I really love it when my team go out of their way to contribute more than just their job description. He doesn't have to create dishes, but he's passionate about food, and so it's a safe place for him to start was with a dessert. And so we talked about it, we tweaked it a little bit, put it on the menu, and the first word on that menu description is Jesse's.
Yeah.
It's his dessert, and I love that. It's not my dessert. I'm not going to put my name on it. I didn't create it. I said, yeah, you can put it on my menu, but it's what I love about it is he's expressing his passion for this industry, and to the degree where he's got the courage, and it takes courage to present it to the owner and back himself and say, this is my dish. Is it good enough to go on the menu?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man, it is. It's good enough to go on the menu.
Yeah.
And so now he's looking at other dishes, and he wants to do savoury dishes, and he's got all the potential in the world.
Yeah. And now he's got a bit of momentum as well to move forward with it.
But also being backed up.
Totally.
And acknowledged.
Yeah.
And creating that kind of a culture in the kitchen, it means that I can rely on my team to execute the food. And it doesn't mean that it's perfect all the time, and it doesn't mean that I'm not standing over the past looking at every single dish and sending the ones back that I'm not happy with. No, that's going to happen. The table is just going to have to wait a little bit longer because you need to recook this. And I'm not happy about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get really annoyed by that. But the fact is, for the vast majority of the time, major majority of the time, I'm super happy with the food that they're delivering, and that gives me the ability to be out the front. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, being out the front, for me now, I love it. It's probably the place where live on location, 17 Tamamutu Street, Taupo. It gives me the ability to be out the front, but the key thing is I think now this deep into the restaurant, this deep into my career, this is where I'm able to best represent the business. Yeah. This is probably the best place for me to be, for the business to continue to succeed, to continue to grow, to maintain and build on the standard that we've built over many years. It's for me, it's being the host, telling the stories, setting the standard for the front staff. I don't have the same. I've got a consistent team. Most of them are my children.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that I've met a lot of your kids through working here at the Bistro.
Exactly. And they're amazing.
Yeah.
They grow up in the restaurant. They start washing dishes when they're 12.
Yeah.
When they turn 14, they have the option to move front of house, which all of them have. Well, the four that have been through. And when they leave high school, they leave home.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of our rule.
Yep.
My wife's rule, actually. Kind of our rule.
Raise them when they're old enough, kick them out.
Yeah, but the thing is, they are equipped to do it at that point. They're ready, and they're happy to, and they've got dreams and aspirations of what they're going to do. And the thing about raising the kids in a restaurant is the restaurant is like the perfect micro version of the real world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're dealing with people from all over the world. They're coming here with expectations. The kids are obligated to fulfill a role.
Mm-hmm.
They communicate, chin up, eyes on, articulate themselves. They put their hospo hat on, which has been probably the toughest lesson for them. Is really taking emotion out of nightly situations.
Yeah.
Oh, that table doesn't like me, or just little things like that.
Yeah.
That's, you're seeing it through your emotions. That's not what's going on. Put your acting hat on. Put your hospo hat on. Put your smile on.
Yeah.
And it's not contrived. It's not disingenuous. It's a role. You're playing a role.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of theatre and acting in hospitality in front of house. You know, the way that I'm speaking to you now is this is not the tone or the even the feel of a conversation.
Yeah, and the rehearsed spiel that you have about the dishes, because you need to get the information out in a certain period of time and things like this.
Maybe the conversations like this at the end of the night when I'm sitting down with the table and having a glass of whiskey.
Yeah.
That's more this kind of a tone, but generally speaking, you're in a loud environment, and you're engaging with the table with enthusiasm, and that sets the standard and the tone for the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And it genuinely is the best place for me to be for the restaurant.
Yes. Yeah. And so, have you seen the same sort of passion for hospitality develop in any of your kids?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Caden, he's 14, about to turn 15. He'll jump on Gami. If I'm short on a staff member, someone's sick, someone's away, and Caden will do 70 covers on the Gami section.
At 14.
Oh yeah, and he's smashing out degustation courses, and they come to the pass. I'm just like, that's it, man.
Yeah.
But then we don't eat like, typical families at home.
Yeah.
No, we grow vegetables and fruit in the garden. We'll buy whole ducks and we'll break them down, and the kids will be a part of it.
So there's a lot of learning.
Yeah, multiple cuts and cooking processes. We make sourdough at home every week, and so that's our bread. And so their baseline expectation of what food is I guess in line with a hospitality family.
Yeah.
And so for Caden to jump on and do that, he's passionate about food. He loves to bake. The other day during service was a Friday night, and it wasn't ridiculously busy, and he smashed out off the top of his head a batch of chocolate chip cookies for the staff in the middle of service. I was like, dude. and that's just him.
Yeah.
And then Zenon's the eldest. He's about to turn 22. And he's studying. He studies Te Reo Māori in Hastings. In Hastings. Oh, is it Taradale? And he's in the industry, and he has been since he left here.
Yep.
He's worked at various hatted restaurants around the country. Is always getting moved up the levels. Has just got the perfect personality for it, and he loves it. He's passionate about it.
Mm.
And it's always going to be a fallback industry for him. It's not necessarily going to be his finish line, but it's his means to an end, and it's a great means to an end because he's 22, but he's been in the industry for 12 years, for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so that's rare for a 22-year-old kid
to have 10 years experience in hospital already.
Yeah,
and know everything from how a kitchen works to front of house and all that. Yeah.
And Julio is about to turn 20. He's studying engineering in Christchurch, and he comes up on the holidays, jumps straight on the bar, redesigns everything, tells me how I should be doing everything, changes the cocktails, does everything his way, but just smashes it.
Yeah.
And then Kalea as well. She's about to turn 18, and she's just finished high school. She's about to move to Hawke's Bay as well. She's also going to study Te Reo Māori.
Yep.
And she can run the floor. She can do the cash up. She can do the open. She can run the dining room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the 12-year-olds are chomping at the bit. They can't wait to start doing dishes. We'll get through the high season, and they're little, and so they can't reach anything yet. Not as big as the others were at 12, and they'll be into it as well. And they just they can't wait to be the next cabs off the rank.
Yeah.
So we're a genuine hospitality family.
100%. One thing I came round to your house one day, and you were sitting at the dining table with two of your youngest, and you were sorting fruit. I think it was feijoas.
Yeah.
And you told me about how you have feijoa trees growing in your backyard.
Yeah.
But you've encouraged the young ones to start a business, and they go out and they pick all of the feijoas, and then they go through and check them all, and then they'll sell them back to you at the restaurant, and you as a restaurant is buying the feijoas off them that have grown in your backyard. And just the teaching of how the business operates and quality control and checking all those little things is, even though they're not working in the restaurant, there's still a whole bunch of education that can go in on the supplier end.
They were contractors, suppliers. And what was surplus, then they sold on Marketplace.
Yep.
They did up 2 kg bags.
Love it.
And they was weighing them. They had this system because we're on the second story upstairs, our living area, and the tree is downstairs. It's a huge feijoa tree. It drops about 150, 200 feijoas a day for a couple of weeks, and then it's done.
Yeah.
And they had this pulley system set up with buckets, pulling these buckets up, putting them upstairs, emptying them out, laying them out on the table and sorting them.
Bit of Kiwi ingenuity.
Yeah, and then they'd have to shuck them, scoop them out,
Yep.
bag them up, vacuum pack them, label them, put the weight on them, and then they charge me by the kg for them.
See, and that's another awesome thing. It's not even just getting the fruit and selling it. There's a process to getting the fruit ready, getting it vac sealed, making sure it's freezer ready, and so understanding the more sort of effort and time and professionalism that you put in on the supplier end makes it more rewarding on the restaurant end, so you're more inclined to end up with more customers that way.
Yeah, and they got a better kg price.
Yeah, 100%.
For the work they put in.
Yeah, exactly.
That covers their labour. And then that money goes into their bank, and then the things that they want, things that they want to do, or things they want to get extra that are above and beyond our obligation as parents, comes out of their hoard. And that lasts them the year too. What they get out of that.
Yeah, really? Wow.
Yeah. And it was great.
Learning good money traits as well.
Well, the original reason because that system started, I think maybe with Caden, and it was because getting them to volunteer to pick up the feijoas just wasn't working. And seeing them go into the lawnmower just did my head in.
Yep.
And seeing them rot on the ground, and so I had to give them an incentive, and the incentive ended up being a great product for the restaurant.
Yep.
So the feijoa went onto a dish on the restaurant, and it saw us all the way through winter.
Yep. And like you say, having the kids come through the restaurant, it's like getting real world experience because you're dealing with different people and things like this. In the real world, you don't work for free either.
No.
That's so right. There are certain chores that I think kids should have to do, whether it's like helping with the vacuuming and things like that, and just keeping the house tidy, keeping your room tidy, things like that, making your bed. But then there are things that are above and beyond.
Exactly.
And they they work, they put more effort in if they're going to get more reward out of it. Yeah. And just teaching the values of what it is to work hard and do your thing.
And so at home, things like mowing the lawns, doing the dishes, they've each got. There's a bathroom. One's responsible for bathrooms. One's responsible for we've got stairs, a couple of levels. One's responsible for the stairs and the vacuuming, and they don't get paid for that. That's their contribution to our household. And to get paid, they work at the restaurant.
Yep.
Which is why the monetizing our feijoas became a thing, was because the little ones they wanted an income as well.
Yep.
And so they weren't able to work at the restaurant, so then they became a supplier. But that, like you say, that's the importance of genuine, appreciation of the value of money and labour.
Yeah.
And they and even when, say in the earlier days when I was more in the kitchen full time, the little ones would come down and like shuck, or they still do actually, shuck peas and beans in the summertime and peel garlic and just do general chores around the kitchen as I was there in the mornings, in the holidays, and I would pay them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one day, Caden, he was little, like maybe 8 or 9. He called me on Mum's phone. Dad, I'm coming down, I need to do 2 hours work. Okay. Sets his helmet on, bikes downtown, pulls up out the back. Worked for 2 hours, put a timer on. And the timer went off, he's alright, I'm done. Paid him his money. I said, what are you up to? He says, I found some Lego that I want to buy in the warehouse brochure. And he jumped on his bike, he figured out how many hours he needed to work to buy it.
Yep.
Rode up to warehouse, went and bought his Lego with the money he just earned, and then biked home. Meanwhile, Tiff calls me after 10 minutes after he left. Has he made it? Yeah, he's made it. Then I called her once he had left and gave him a bit of time.
Yeah.
Has he made it? Yeah, he's made it. He got to work, got home.
So they get independence as well.
Yeah, but this was for him. He prompted it himself. He saw what he wanted. His first thought wasn't to say, "Hey, Mum, can I have $10 to go and buy this Lego?"
Yeah.
His first thought was, I'm going to go see Dad, I'm going to do some work,
yeah,
and I'm going to get paid for it, then I'm going to go buy my Lego.
Yeah. Instead of having a handout, it's like, I'm willing to put in some effort to get the reward,
exactly.
And then sort himself for the weekend. Now he's got Lego to play with.
And that's genuine work ethic.
Yep.
Same for the kids at the restaurant. They get paid for the role that they do, not for the child that they are.
Yeah.
And so if they're performing at a level as one of our adult workers, then they get paid at the level as one of our adult workers.
Yeah.
And once again, this comes into this work ethic. It's impossible to install a work ethic into a child if you don't give them the recognition and the acknowledgement that they've done for the work. And part of the recognition and the acknowledgement is monetary.
Yeah.
It's been paid for it. They've been paid for a job. If it's I'm making you do this job because I'm teaching you how to work, and you're not completing that circle with the reward for the work, then Dad's just an asshole making me work. And I'm getting nothing for it. Yeah, you're getting something for it. Look, the success of the business. No, Dad, you're getting something for that.
Yeah,
but the food on the table, buddy. Yeah, I get it, but no. It has to be immediate.
Yeah.
And not instant gratification, but immediate as in the circle needs to be fulfilled in a way that they can see I've done the work, and I've paid my tax, I've contributed to my KiwiSaver, and now what I get left over is my reward for doing the work.
Yeah.
That's the only way that you can actually install a work ethic, because it's come full circle.
Yeah. And I guess there's also a lot of lead by example.
Yeah.
They don't see, Mum and Dad out just buying whatever they want all the time and lounging about and not really wanting to work hard, or coming home and complaining about work all the time, and that they don't want to get there and always sleeping in and doing things like this. So they also see how hard their parents work going out. There's nights that you are here 8 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 2 a.m. at the next morning. Yeah. And so they get to see that, and it's kind of instilled in them right from the start that is just how you make money.
This is what's
That's
required.
how you survive.
Yeah, we live in a system where that is what's required, and we're teaching them how to thrive in that system.
Yeah, 100%. So I want to take it back a little bit to you being back in the kitchen. Do you have a favourite dish that you love cooking, that whether it be in the restaurant or at home for the family? I know bread's a big thing for you. A lot of sourdough.
The sourdough for me it's just become a genuine passion. The other day so I've been making sourdough now since the lockdowns. So 4 years or something, and it's more than doing it as a household hobby, and we some people might make their sourdough once a month and others once a week, and that doesn't mean it's not a passion, but when you're doing it every single day, you exponentially grow in your ability.
Yeah.
Because you've got instant opportunities to recognise what's going right and what's going wrong, and you can improve on it. And even now, I'm still improving on it all the time. But just the other day, I was doing the shape. So it's like a 6-hour process.
Yeah.
But for 4 hours of that 6-hour process, it's a 30-second step as you're doing the stretch and fold.
Yeah.
Resting it for 45 minutes, stretch and fold. So I kind of build my day around that, and I'll have the timer in my pocket, and as I'm doing things. And I was doing the shape stage, which is where you're literally shaping it into the loaf, which will then put into the banneton to improve overnight. Mm-hmm. And as I was doing that, I don't know, this wasn't overwhelming or anything, but it was just this feeling of joy and satisfaction. Mm-hmm. And I was saying to my wife, man, I love this so much. It's that there's something about this. You can feel the life in your hands.
Yeah.
There's a natural born wild yeast.
Very tactile.
That you're working with, and it's a living organism, and it's literally just flour, water, and salt. That's all it is. A lot of time, but it's alive, and you can feel that in your hands. And the kids joking, so you did sourdough's a lifestyle. It's not just bread; it's a lifestyle.
Sourdough is a lifestyle.
Yeah, and it is. It actually is. And so these days, that's kind of one of my big passions about food. But I mean, generally speaking, it's in the restaurant. I really love working with not necessarily just an individual ingredient or an individual dish. I love to cook the meat. I love to cook the fish. I love to do everything that I do in the restaurant. But going back to those 3 T's, the taste, the texture, and the temperature. So texture, is crunchy and soft. Mm-hmm. Temperature, hot and cold. Now you get a temperature shift from if you're having a scoop of ice cream and then you're putting whipped cream on that ice cream. There's a temperature shift there. Mm-hmm. It's balanced, and so that cream will appear on the palate to be warm. Yeah. Compared to the ice cream because it's frozen cold. Then texture, it's pretty easy to describe texture. But even within these levels of soft, whether it's rich and creamy or whether it's soft like a piece of fruit or crunch. Mm-hmm. But then in taste, you've got that breaks down into hot, sour, sweet, salty, and umami. And so you've got complement and you've got contrast. And so, complement is going to be a supporting flavour. So, sweet with sweet is obviously going to be complement. Sweet and sour is going to be contrast, but contrast is balance. Sweet and sour is going to be the acid balances the sweet, and so they're contrasting each other, but they're also balancing each other. Then if you've got complementary, you might, just the basic complementary would be if you've got, say, garlic as an ingredient, and let's just say you want it to be, you want the dish to be built around that ingredient, and so you might have a sauce which has garlic at the foundation, sweated, develops the sweetness of the garlic, but the foundational flavour of the garlic, and then you might go to the next level on that dish. There might be gnocchi that's got a lot of garlic in it, or a dressing that's got a lot of garlic in it. So the gnocchi will have cooked garlic, and then the dressing might be a gremolata, which has got raw garlic, and you might have garlic chips on it. They sound like a lot of garlic, but you're layering the garlic through the dish. Yes. And it's you're pulling out the whole profile of that garlic flavour and texture by treating it in different ways. Yep. And so the sweeting of it, you're bringing out the sweetness. The frying of it, you're bringing out the bitterness. The fresh, you're bringing out the sharp. And so the whole way through, but it's the same flavour, it's the same ingredient. And so each step of that is complementing the next. So it's supportive. It's supporting that ingredient. And you can do that with different ingredients. It doesn't have to be the same ingredient, but effectively you're supporting it. And so really digging into that, that concept is kind of where my passion and joy for food is now. and so it doesn't have to be a particular dish. It's every single dish. It needs to tick. It needs to fill those boxes, that profile. It's not a box ticking process. It's a completing a dining experience or a eating experience.
Yeah.
And so I always look to have dishes which don't have holes in them, so that when you're eating it, you could be at a really high-end restaurant, paying a whole lot of money for really, really amazing food, or you could be at a food cart, which and both of them at their own levels, at their own price points, at their own ingredient levels, are looking at it from the same point of view. They're trying to complete the palate.
Yeah.
And if you close your eyes, you could be, as far as your mouth is concerned, you're eating this perfectly balanced, executed taco, and you could be sitting at a Michelin star restaurant as far as your mouth is concerned, because it fills everything that your desire for that flavour profile needs.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing, you don't have to be doing ridiculously expensive food. We've got people walking into the restaurant. Having a look at the menu.
We're checking out the menu.
Hello there.
Hi. We've been told we should come here.
Yeah, I hear it's not bad. That's the drinks list right there. The one next to it is the dinner menu.
One dish that, and it's not even really a full, what you would think of as a meal, but I know I've always commented on it, and a lot of other people have commented on it, is with the sourdough, the browned butter lemon curd spread. Yeah. That is...
It's funny that
tits.
You know that bread and butter, it opens a conversation with 90% of our tables.
Yeah.
And all it takes is for someone just to go, wow, that butter was next level, and that's my cue. Like, boom. All right. Well, since you mentioned it, and that was down to the lockdown as well.
Yeah.
So my head chef from Hooker Lodge, really close friend, confidant in the industry, mentor, an amazing friend and chef, Nick Huffman. In 2019, so him and his family would come up, and they still do. In the summertime, they rent a house, they stay for a long weekend, and we hang out with a couple of us different families, because Nick used to live here, and so he's got people that he knows here. And we'll do dinner at my place, dinner at another mate's place, and dinner at Nick's rental. And 2019, he came up and he bought with him the sourdough, a sourdough starter, and said, you've got to get into this. It's amazing. Said it's I think he might have said it was a lifestyle, actually. I think that's where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Yeah, I think so.
Sourdough was a lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. And living bread or something, he says. I'll have to remember that. And so that was kind of my first, okay, I'm going to give this a whack, and so I started working at it. So when the lockdown came, that was like time and space, and so I just kicked into it, and I was making sourdough every day.
Yeah. At
first, pretty badly, and I would send him photos, and I'd think, yeah, this is it, man, it's amazing, and he'd message me back, get in there, mate. and so because I was making it every day for like six or 7 weeks, whatever the first lockdown was, the improvement came fast, and it was, like I said before, exponential. It was improving, and so because the kids just by this time got sick of it, so I was sneaking around at night putting sourdough loaves in friends' letterboxes. I got pulled over by the police patrolling a couple of times. What are you doing? And I've got some friends who are elderly, and I've got really no access and to people or food, and so I dropped them some bread loaves. Just really trying to help them get through the lockdown, and the police are like, no.
We'll let you go if you give us a loaf.
Yeah, no, they were really cool about it, actually. It was, we weren't doing anything overly wrong or bad. We were actually looking out for people. Yeah. And this was because the kids just couldn't eat it all. Yeah. And so I started looking at other spreads, and at the time I'd taken a whole lot of ingredients home from the restaurant, perishable things and things that I just didn't think we were going to get through, or because we had to start from scratch when we opened. We were closed for too long.
Yeah.
And I had some lemon curd that I thought, I'm going to have to use that. And we had it on a dessert. And I had some brown butter, and so as I was trying to get spreads to get the kids to eat more of this bread, I was trying various things. And just one of those experiments was like, okay, I'll put some brown butter and I'll put some lemon curd into it. And at the time, Caden, so he would have been, so what was that, 40s, so he was probably 9 or 10. He was filming a lot of the cooking. I was doing kind of cooking classes and that, and demonstrations, and we were putting them on Facebook and Insta. And so I kind of got into this mode of I'm not going to stop cooking just because we're in lockdown.
Yeah.
And so experimenting with things. And so I tried this lemon curd and the brown butter, and it was just like, wow, okay, that's pretty amazing. But when we came out of the lockdown, I wasn't yet confident with my sourdough level.
Yeah.
So we were just making the normal bread that we had, and we were using olive oil for the bread at that time. And I had stock of that, and so I had to keep using that until it was gone. And so when I finally got the bread at the level that I was comfortable with, and I trained the staff on it, then introduced that butter, and instantly it was just like, no!
Yeah.
Wow, there's this feedback. And I guess I take for granted when I think something's really nice.
Yeah.
I appreciate that on my level of just for me personally. It's like, man, that was really nice. But I very rarely go outside of my own mental bubble and think, if I think this is really nice, then surely 99% of our customers are going to just think it's amazing. I didn't really think about it that way. I just thought, man, this is amazing. I want to put it on the menu.
Yeah.
And then the feedback was just instant, like, wow, this is really different, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
And
the first time I tried it,
salt.
I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So it kind of plays on on like lemon salted caramel.
Yeah.
So the brown butter gives that it's the foundation, it's the texture, but it gives that nutty, kind of nutty apricot stone, a touch of bitter, brown butter flavour. Then you add the lemon curd, which is egg sugar butter, and we cook it sous vide. Then when you emulsify that, we fill the beakers with the pape jet, put them in the freezer, and then we spin it in the pape jet, and you can just put out these like beautiful, super soft and smooth Bernard's lemon curd quenelles. And when that flavour profile comes together, it was actually just, I think one of my chefs, I think it might have been Ben at the time, as we were presenting it, he just put salt on it.
Yeah.
Because my original plan wasn't to put salt on it, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Actually, I looked and thought, "Actually, no, let's do that." And I tasted it, and it was like, "Yeah, wow, okay."
Yeah.
So salt
helped complete that whole sort of.
It was nice
palette.
as it was, but with the salt on it, it's like, "Yeah, this is it."
Yeah. Okay.
So I got Ben to thank for that, and now it's become. You know, we talked about signatures earlier. That's become one of our foundational identities for this restaurant now.
Yeah.
Is we get so often regulars will come in and return like, oh, have you got that butter?
Yeah.
And it starts that conversation, and so I do a shortened version of that story with guests if I've got time.
Yeah.
And I've learned now that you know, we'll clear the bread goes out before the entrees come in, so we'll clear the side plates. But we never take the butter away.
Yeah.
If I've got butter left over, we just
leave it there. Yeah. Leave it for them to nibble on.
Exactly.
When we did the how-to cocktail class the other week, that was the first food item that they got given to accompany their cocktails and things like that.
Just as if it was if they were dining.
Yeah, I remember you telling me a story of you had a table of food scientists come in and they tasted it and they went nuts for it. They were like, we got to figure out how to put this in a fucking jar and sell it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what we get? I get so many people that suggest, can we buy some? And I'm like, no, we don't really sell it outside of the restaurant. Oh, you should do this, you could sell this. And I'm like, yeah, I probably could. But the fact is, on my days off, because I'm not going to do that when I'm at work. Yeah. On my days off, the last thing I'm going to do is spend my day in a factory making this butter. Yeah. I'd rather be out on the boat with the kids. Yep. And I say, the simple fact is, I'd rather, if people want this butter, they've got to come back to my restaurant. Yep. But the fact is that it is a product that you could scale, and it's probably a product that I could commission a manufacturer to scale. No, I just think about it. I've not put a lot of research into it, but butter's super expensive to buy.
Yeah.
So I would need a seriously good supply of butter. I'd probably need to buy my own cows. Otherwise, it would cost too much.
You start a whole dairy farm business.
Exactly. By the time it hits the shelf, it would be ridiculously priced.
Real farm to table lemon curd butter.
Exactly. And back to the food scientist group, I did talk to them about scaling, and because I just picked their brains on it, and they said I've not got them to do it, but if I was to scale that, I wouldn't want it to be the lemon curd, because I would love for it to be it would never be vegan, but technically brown butter could be considered dairy free, because the curd and the whey has been separated out, which is where the lactose is, and so the fat is all that remains. It would be nice for people that are allergic to eggs to be able to use it still. People that don't necessarily want high sugar. So the food scientists, those companies, they can produce I don't know entirely how they do that, because what they do is pretty amazing. But they can give you a product which is not necessarily made from the base ingredient, but that tastes like the base ingredient, that could supply the texture of the base ingredient. There could be a replacement for the base ingredient. And so that would be the lemon curd part of it. And then you could probably look at scaling it and having it fit within some dietary criteria.
But I mean, like, shit, I think about it as someone that's allergic to peanuts. Peanut butter's still a thing. Like, they don't try and make an altered version to cater to me, and like, fuck it. You know, it is what it is. Make it and make it delicious.
Make it.
That's the most important thing. Does it taste good?
Another thing I was told though, a friend that has scaled a few products, and he said and I talked to him about it, so I knew that he had. He was actually, I think he was teaching at one of the polytechnics in town here, and he said just one thing to consider is that do not expect your product, your recipe, let's say we scaled the salsa verde, which is the dressing, do not expect that to be as it is when you make it at the restaurant, fresh, and ready serve, to be that as a finished product if you scale it, because it just won't be. A lot of the subtlety and the identity of those scaled products get kind of they disappear from the scaling process. And that's not to say all. You know, there's a couple of pestos on the market that taste pretty damn good. You know, but then they're not 100% pine nuts. You know, they've got mostly cashew nuts. And so it's not. If you were making it at the restaurant, I wouldn't make pesto with cashew nuts. But cashew nuts are cheaper than pine nuts. And so if you're going to scale it, you need a compromise. In order to make it the resale.
Unless you've got a $40 jar of pesto out there.
Because it's got pine nuts. Have you ever harvested pine nuts?
No, but it's like picking them off the ends of the pine cones,
not
isn't
the ends.
It? Oh, is it? Oh, you got to peel them right back, and they're kernels in the inside. Okay,
So they are seeds from pine trees. And they are labour. Labour. We've got a friend with a few trees that have got the right. They're not all pine trees can produce the pine nuts that we eat. He's got a couple of those ones.
Maybe that's the kid's next business.
Harvesting pine nuts. And they are some labour, man. Like when you go as a restaurant, you buy like a kg bag of pine nuts, and I appreciate it differently now when I look at those, and I'm like, man, to fill that bag, I tell you what, that's some sore hands.
There's a lot of work. That's hours of sitting down just peeling through pine cones.
It's a big job. It's a real big job.
Love it. So we'll finish up soon, but the breadcrumb mojito. We've already had a conversation about kind of what it means. My first time in the bar. First cocktail, absolute cock up.
Breadcrumbs instead of sugar.
Instead of sugar in the mojito. So what is one of your most memorable breadcrumb mojito moments at the start of your career? Or
I've
throughout?
Got a couple, and they're not even at the they were all when I was younger. One in London, there's one in Queenstown, and there's one in Taupo here. Let's just choose one,
Yeah.
The one in I think the one in Taupo here actually, that was with Nick.
Okay.
He was so pissed at first. So he really loves like Southeast Asian food, Thai food and Malaysian. And we had this, we did a laksa soup broth on the menu, and it was just authentic and delicious. Everything was handmade, mortar and pestle. A lot of work.
Yeah. So what goes into a laksa?
So it's basically it's a curry paste style.
Okay.
So a lot of that Southeast Asian kind of Thai kind of ingredients. It's got like galangal and ginger and lemongrass, and I think it's got blanchard as one of the base, which is a fermented shrimp paste. You keep an oil cap on it. And I remember the first time I was making it, I was skimming the oil off, and peanut oil. And he says, "This part of this is a lot of chili. This is part of the broth.
Yeah.
The oil holds so much flavour. It coats your lips, burns them. And so I made this laksa, and it was delicious, and I was so stoked. And there was a bucket. It was split into two buckets. There was a bucket already in the fridge, and I made the next batch the next day. So I went to add the two together, and I poured the bucket of laksa into the jus. Jus takes like 3 days to make. It starts with roasted veal bones and vegetables, and you're extracting all the flavour out of those ingredients. And then the next day you've got that stock. The bones have got strained out now. And go to your meat trim, roast up the meat trim, add that to that stock. That now infuses that complementary layers that base bone broth with the flavour of the caramelised meat trim. And then the next day you're reducing it, so you're evaporating all the water, leaving the essence of the beef behind. You've got wine and pork reduction going into it, and so that was just for our base sauce. Then we'd use that to, you might do a sauce for a dish which is going in the rosemary direction or the mushroom direction or the truffle direction, but you've got this base sauce. And it's a lot of work, and it's kind of, in the industry it's liquid gold. We always call it liquid gold. And it goes from the colour of water to the colour of marmite. Yeah. And so I poured this laksa into the jus. Not only have I fucked the laksa, but I've also fucked the jus. And I was just like, instantly, because I saw the bucket, and then I looked and I saw the bucket of laksa next to it. And you can know it's the laksa because it's got the fat, the orange ambery coloured fat sitting at the top. And I was like, shit, this is actually such an oh shit moment. There is no fix.
That's a week's worth of work gone.
Now we have no jus, and we have half the laksa that we need. And he was pissed. He was pissed. And at first I tried to make some excuses, and he was like, no, not buying it, no excuse. And so then I owned it, and I was just like, you're just going high in the corner, man. There's nothing you can do. It's those, and I would have been like 22, commie chef. Within the first 3 or 4 years of my career, you're talking over 25 years ago. And then there was an upside. He came and tasted it, and he's like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good." And that did not get me out of the dog box. It just meant that it wasn't wasted. And so there was then one of our kind of fundamental recipes, because we had a rotating, it wasn't a rotating menu, sorry, it was a 5-course degustation menu that changed every day. So you could have a guest that would dine, that would stay at Hooker Lodge for, it's not like that anymore, it's a rotating menu now. But then you could have a guest that would stay for 6 weeks and they wouldn't get the same dish twice. If there wasn't that person staying there for 6 weeks, maybe some of the dishes, there were dishes that we did redo, and so, but they might be,
little variations.
2 or 3 weeks before you would use that dish again, and would have a variation. As the ingredients change from the season, it might be similar kind of a, hey Ray, good man, a similar kind of small town.
Hard.
A similar kind of a dish, but it might, asparagus is in season and celery is no longer in season, kind of thing. And so then this laksa jus became one of our ingredients in some of our dishes, and because Nick was really he was trained in French cuisine, travelled around Asia, loved that. That was always that fusion was kind of something that we did, but he really liked to keep things authentic, generally speaking. But the lak shai jus was one of the ones that we're able to merge.
Yeah.
It ended up being pretty good.
the big fuck up and thought of a lot of work wasted was finally came out to be a whole new product that worked on the menu. Love it.
That is probably my first that I can remember. The Greek on mojito.
Oh, awesome, bro. Well, I think we'll wrap up there. It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure, never a chore.
That's the one.
And thank you very much, bro.
I see, bro.
Yeah, easy. Ciao.